Maybe a lot has been said about ISO 2002. 2. We're going to discuss whether or not this is actually a major concern in this video. There is a lot of chatter on Twitter about how this new updated standard for the banking system isn't important at all. So what are people at Ripple saying about it? I'm going to let you guys know where I stand on that subject and really break it down. Some are claiming that this update will bring in XRP as the cryptocurrency that will control our financial system. So, it is simple to comprehend. We recently received insider information from a member of the SEC Enforcement Division, so stay tuned for that, something you won't want to miss. I also want to discuss one of the most absurd tweets about the SEC that I have seen since I began covering the ongoing Ripple SEC case. So let's talk about ISO 2002 to start off this video. 2. And to begin with, I actually want to show you a video that, believe it or not, is phony and altered. But in spite of it, I believe the video is still quite good. Also, it will make it easier for you to comprehend how XRP and Ripple can contribute to this new global payment standard. As I previously mentioned, some portions of this video are fake. Yet the video is still quite good. Also, it will simply aid in your understanding of the direction that the financial system is taking. Can you explain what transpired? And because you don't actually hold any money anymore, do you? No, you're right. There is a traditional banking model that dictates that in order to transfer funds into a currency, you must have a nostro account or a correspondent account in that country and debit and credit an account there. This implies you are holding a variety of relationships in several jurisdictions. With the use of cryptocurrencies, particularly Ripple and the XRP, we were able to examine the levels of liquidity for each of those specific currencies while only requiring one special currency, XRP. At age 20, I used to work with Swift and Fast. Swift is therefore coursing through my veins. The leading communications platform for the financial sector, including payments and FX transactions, is called Swift. Service-level agreements are necessary in the crypto space, where Swift would use a store-and-forward method for the majority of its payment transactions. And at the appointed time, I will take action to ensure that money arrives at the appointed hour of the day. Here, we're taking a look at the innovative network designs that enable instantaneous, real-time movement of funds and their visibility. I believe that Swift is also modifying their network capabilities such that real-time will also be a possibility. Yet when we practice utilizing something like FX, we can also notice ripples of XRP going around the Swift network as a form of money. So it's amusing that that person did work for Swift. And he did make that remark at the conclusion, stating that we might someday see XRP going through the Swift network. He merely explained why XRP would be advantageous to the system in the edited portions of the video. And for that reason, I still think that clip is helpful. That person did, in fact, work for Swift. And he did truly say that XRP might someday be used to transfer money via Swift. Only the portion necessary to clarify why Swift might use something like XRP was edited into the video. I'd like to discuss how ISO 2002-2 fits into this situation going forward. And I truly want to base my speech on Bob's. He had formerly belonged to Ripple. In this way, we are assured that whatever he says will probably be correct. I'm not sure I can give much context to this discussion of ISO 2002, he remarked. 2, he asserts. I'm sure a lot has changed. Just to be clear, ISO 2002-2 replaces the earlier Swift standards, MT and MX, and adds a lot of other stuff. It is much larger than you might initially believe. I want to be absolutely open and honest with you. MT and MX are not totally clear to me. Yet Bob White is essentially referring to ISO 2002 here. Swift standards will be updated in Step 2. Also, the entire banking sector will be able to adopt modernized kinds of technology thanks to updated standards. Basically, all the banks in the world must communicate with one another. If every bank in the world that wanted to engage with one another was using a different standard, it would be a nightmare trying to deal with all of these different banks. Therefore, they need to make sure they're using the same standards. In a nutshell, ISO 2002-2 is basically a revised standard that will enable the use of new technologies in our financial system, which is explained in a very simple manner. We already know that this new standard will work with the technologies Ripple and XRP. In essence, this new standard is creating a pathway for the implementation of the XRP ledger and Ripple technology in our current financial system. They simply don't fit the mold at this time. And as a result, adoption is being restricted. But once this change is implemented, it will enable banks to begin using technology more quickly. Does this imply that the only cryptocurrency supported by the new standard will be XRP? Does this imply that the only technological business utilizing the new ISO 2002 is going to be Ripple? Two worlds? Of course not, never. Nonetheless, this will make it possible for that system to be used more frequently. And one thing I'm certain of is that XRP and Ripple are among the best payment technologies available. And as the regulatory barriers start to fall, I believe it will pave the way for the rapid expansion of this new and enhanced payment method within our financial system. In the end, I believe that this, or the adoption of technology like the XRP ledger, really is going to be significant. But I do hope that you now have a clearer idea of how everything fits together, how Ripple and XRP will contribute to the solution, and how ISO 2002 actually opens the door for the adoption of these new technologies in the banking system. I now want to discuss something that the library has just made clear to me. And this is really strange. Really, when I first read this, I couldn't believe it. But I believe that this will help you comprehend the SEC's operations much better. And the knowledge we have right now is practically priceless. And I simply want to point out that the library actually posted this on Twitter so that the SEC would see it. The SEC is aware that a specific library tweet was brought up in their ongoing case and that the SEC follows libraries. Just keep in mind that the SEC officials who have been prosecuting charges against these Bitcoin companies will be seeing what you're about to see when I finish reading this. We'd want to remind you that you are personally morally responsible for the decisions you make, the library tweeted, because many SEC officials follow this account. If you go out and take innocent lives and destroy them, the fact that you did it because your boss told you to will not matter to God. And because this tweet thread is so interesting, I want to read it to you. It comes from the Crypto Tax Man. I was traveling with a party that included a few members of the SEC enforcement crypto team. I questioned her about any cryptocurrencies she could think of that weren't securities. She said, "For what it's worth, I think that might not be an unreasonable response. Security has a broad definition." This individual acknowledged that compliance for crypto assets is just unachievable in many, if not most, circumstances. But it isn't her responsibility. Her job is to uphold the law as it is. There is definitely a lot to dissect in this situation. But let's begin from the beginning. The fact that a member of the SEC's crypto enforcement unit said that ENO was the only cryptocurrency they could conceive of that wasn't a security is one of the more stunning things to come out of this scandal. This actually supports a theory we have been discussing a lot on this channel. These SEC employees are merely slothful. If you avoid talking to the SEC and hide from them, they simply presume that no one is responsible for the project. Oh, and it can't be a security. Some individuals find it difficult to comprehend that every single coin was created by a human. Every single cryptocurrency was created by a team of developers. But people merely assume that since they are hiding, then obviously they don't exist. The SEC cites this as the main argument against considering Bitcoin to be a security. They assert that they are unable to locate the creators. What security measures are considered acceptable in the United States? How did the SEC create that requirement? Whoever is the best at hiding from us. It is completely ridiculous. It is illogical. Securities laws have nothing to do with it. Who can hide from the SEC the best? That cannot be the criterion for what constitutes security and what does not in the United States. That this was their response for what isn't a security issue is utterly embarrassing, and it just goes to show how ignorant the folks we're dealing with are. If they actually believe that the only cryptocurrency that wouldn't be considered secure is the one she knows, then these folks are complete fools. And if anything, this only demonstrates that there is virtually no security in the cryptocurrency market. Now, let's continue, since there are two more really startling facts in this article. They openly acknowledge that the majority of crypto assets cannot be compliant. Gary versus there has been yelling, "Well, you just come in and register," as he runs around. It's not that difficult. We can infer from this that the SEC is aware that this move is not conceivable. To make matters more amusing, the cryptocurrency sector keeps claiming that it has been attempting to register but that the SEC has refused to allow it, while the SEC keeps denying that they have been doing so. They don't actually do anything, they're just saying it. What we're finding out right now is that the SEC is fully aware that registration is not viable. And they're only saying that now in an effort to shift the responsibility to the sector. Finally, I want to emphasize this last argument because it actually does make sense in this context. It's not her job to change the regulations. Rather, it's to enforce the law as it is, and this is something I have really heard from other SEC Enforcement Division members. Hence, this isn't inherently the SEC's fault. You can now counter that you believe the SEC shouldn't be applying the law the way they are. Yet ultimately, either they nor anybody else makes or modifies laws. And it's actually a positive thing that they are aware that they shouldn't be acting in that way. But we would face much more serious issues if the SEC were simply allowed to rewrite the laws at will. This is, therefore, accurate. Their role does not include changing the law. They are not authorized to create laws. Congress owns it. The issue is that the majority of us believe that the SEC should probably stay quiet, or at the very least focus on catching scammers until the laws are clear. It's not that the SEC is trying to uphold the law or safeguard investors because the issue exists. Overall, this whole situation is just incredibly upsetting because they're punishing the only legitimate projects while sparing swindlers like FTX. If they say, "Oh, if you don't want to be a security, we'll make a token like she'd be new and then hide from us," it tells you something about the type of individuals we're dealing with, in my opinion. In the end, there are a lot of theories that the SEC is trying to restrain the industry, and I believe there is a lot of evidence to support that. But when you witness such things, you can't help but wonder, are these individuals truly too stupid to comprehend what is happening? So, gentlemen, I really appreciate your being here. I hope this update was enjoyable. Please remember to like and subscribe if you did. For the time being, it truly means a lot.